So good morning. What a weird year this has been. I have to say, I am so excited to be in a live speaking venue. This is so cool, right? Because Zoom saved my bacon last year, which was great, but I'm a bit zoomed out. So it is so nice to be with real faces today and with you guys who are joining us on the live stream. So thank you. All right. My goal this morning is to provide you with a bit of guidance around how you can build and broaden your business acumen, and a bit of inspiration around how you can become more intentional about your growth. So because I'm a certified DISC behavioral styles consultant, I know there are some of you in the room with a particular style that really want to know how things are going to look over the next 20 to 30 minutes, right? 30 minutes or so. So let's go forward just a little bit here. What we're going to be covering today is maintaining that human factor in the face of increased automation. We're going to be covering avoiding role frustration, and we're going to address that by learning how a leadership mindset can keep you from getting bored, right? And we're going to talk about stepping away to work on the big picture versus simply getting stuck into the day-to-day. So because working on instead of working in will actually get you closer to where you want to be in your career and with your business. So depending on what your role is here today. Now I've got one request for you and I have two promises. So the request is this: if you find your brain popping up at some point during the discussion and saying, I know that, I've heard that, please catch yourself when your brain pops up with that phrase and replace it with, how well am I doing that? How well am I implementing that in my work, in my business? Because you see what happens whenever I'm so far down this end of the stage, you guys are a long ways away. I'll come down here and say hi. Because what happens is when our brains pop up and say, I know that, what happens is we immediately put up a wall between us and further learning. So if you replace that with, how well am I doing that in my business, in my workplace, in my career, you're going to gain so much more from this session. Now, the first promise I'm going to make you is that you are going to walk away with at least one strategy that you can implement when you leave here that will help you take your career or your business forward. And the second promise is a free resource that's going to help you to implement what we're talking about. So I'll show you how to access that a little bit later. And just to let you know, I'm going to be coming at the topic today from an angle that you may not be expecting. So as a certified leadership coach, I view everything through the lens of leadership and influence. So if you listen carefully today, you're going to hear that coming out kind of loud and clear. Now, who am I and why am I standing here in front of you today? Why do I have the privilege of being a part of your 2021 conference experience? Well, some of you might remember me possibly from 2018. I was up here to do the EAPA show in 2018, different venue. So if you were here at that point, I talked about time management, being a time management ninja. Good to see you again. For those of you that I'm new to, this is my little family on the screen. And you'll notice that my accent is not from here. I'm a Kiwi by choice. So my little family moved here 10 years ago, 10 and a half years ago, in an effort to find a place that suited our personal values much better than the States did. So, yep, I'm from the States. I'm now a Kiwi citizen, and these people are why I do what I do, why I sit in a couple hours of traffic to come up here and speak to you guys today and help you and provide you with resources that can help you take your careers and your businesses forward. So they empower me to do what I do. And yeah, we basically sold everything we had about 10 years ago and bought 3 one-way tickets to Hamilton, which I'll have to tell you that story another day because we don't have time, but we haven't looked back. So it's been a great experience. Since moving here, I have done nothing but coach, train, and speak with a wide variety of service-oriented professions. I help businesses who sell the intangible, right? I help them build strong leaders, and I help their teams learn to communicate more effectively. I'm a certified John Maxwell leadership coach. There's only a handful of us in New Zealand, so we're a rare breed. We've got access to world-leading tools and resources, which is nice for me. So from my perspective, I tend to view everything through a leadership lens with a leadership orientation. And I've been able to grow my business through applying the leadership skills that I teach through things like this. So that's allowed me to put food on my table for the last 10 years and keeps me in love with what I do, because I get to serve you guys and serve people like you. So I'd like to share some of what I've learned with you today and take a look at this topic from that leadership lens, because each and every one of you here today is a leader, no matter your role. If you influence people, if people look to you in any way, shape, or form, you are a leader, because leaders are influencers, full stop. So whether you're in a business, whether you have a career within a larger organization, you have a boss, or you are your own boss, it really doesn't matter. You're a leader, and you have to lead yourself first before you can lead others. So is that okay with you today, if we kind of take a look at things through a leadership lens? Yeah. Let's dive in, shall we? Our first objective is to really look at how we can maintain the human factor in the face of increased automation. Let's jump back in time for just a minute. Wow. If we go back to January, February 2020, this was the major headline at the time. Kobe Bryant, NBA basketball star, and teenage daughter died tragically in a helicopter accident in California. My, how quickly things change. 1 month after that, it has become, and it became, the year of COVID. This quote is so relevant, right? The quote that's there is so relevant to our first point today. So the quote is, "It's the one thing you can control. You are responsible for how many people remember you or don't. So don't take it lightly." I would add to that, that you're not just responsible for how many people remember you, but for how they remember you, for how they remember you. Do you make the people that you influence and serve, your team members, your industry colleagues, your clients and customers, your boss, feel valued? Do you enter every meeting with your focus on adding value to others in the room or on the Zoom? I'm going to share a quick story about a client of mine who's an accountant in Christchurch. She's lovely. She's so busy, she can hardly manage it, right? She's got a great business. She gets 2 to 3 new clients every single week. And I asked her one day when we were on a coaching call, I said, you know, how are you so successful? What do you do? Because there's plenty of other accountants out there that would love to know what you're doing. And she said, you know what, Jen, it's really simple. We love our clients to death. Like, oh, that's good. We love our clients to death. So what would that look like in your business, in your organization, if you just loved the people around you and the people that you influence to death? It would make you more valuable, wouldn't it? My mentor, so one of my mentors, and leadership legend John Maxwell, who has written over 70 books on leadership and communication, says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And that's what I'm talking about when I say maintain the human factor in the face of increased automation. We know that in order to go forward in business, in our careers, heck, to go forward in life, we need people, don't we? It's hard to do very much alone. And we need to know how to connect with those people in order to go further, faster. But in the face of more and more people working from home, using video-based technology, video conferencing to hold meetings, on the face of it, it's not so easy to connect, is it? Because connection is so important. Well, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't really matter what method of communication you choose to use, whether that's phone, email, Zoom, video conference, face-to-face. As long as you're connecting, you'll be able to be much more effective with your communication. So many people communicate, but so few know how to connect. I've got a training that I do for folks that includes 5 principles of connection. We don't have time to cover those today, but I'm going to give you 2. So we'll talk about 2 principles to help you better connect regardless of the communication method you're using. The first one requires a mindset shift. And it's shifting your mindset from, what do they have that I need in this situation? 2, what do I have that they need? How can I help them? It's really shifting that mindset from me to them, from getting to giving and to serving. So when we enter any interaction with a thought in our brains, what do I have that they need? We instantly put ourselves in the present and become more tuned in those conversations. We ask better questions and therefore we get better answers. And we become more creative problem solvers. So no matter what your role is today or who you serve, I promise you, you'll have more effective interaction when you make this mindset shift, because you'll come across as more human and more caring, and it's going to be more rewarding for you in your career and personally. The second point is connecting requires you to bring the energy. Bring the energy. How many times have you had someone on your team, in your organization, who everybody knows when they're having a bad day, right? Everybody knows when so-and-so woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It is your responsibility to bring positive energy, forward-thinking, forward-moving energy into the workplace as someone who wants to broaden your knowledge base and move your career, your business forward. So this isn't just necessarily the rah-rah energy that comes to mind. And when I first moved here, everybody said, oh, rah-rah Americans, damn it. And I'm like, oh, at the time, but now I totally get it. So yeah, you guys are right. So yeah, I get that. It's not rah-rah energy. It's those things that encompass things like taking the initiative on a project. Because you could just sit back and let somebody else start it, couldn't you? Taking the initiative on a project, reaching out to a new prospect or a customer or to a new team member, right? First, introducing yourself. Hey, how can I help you? My name's so-and-so. It means being the first person to be prepared in time before a meeting. Right? If you're preparing ahead of a meeting with a key stakeholder, your boss, a new prospect, a client, it shows that you're engaged and you want to add value. Right? Because when you don't prepare, it's a bit selfish. And whether you realize it or not, it's a bit of a lazy road to go. So prepare. And it takes energy because it takes having the desire to put other people first. Now, let me tell you a really quick story about this guy. His name is Pinetop Perkins. He is a blues legend from the States. And I was at a conference way back. This was probably in the mid-2000s. And I went to Austin, Texas after one of the days of conference. And I went down to a bar and had a beer. And I'm sitting there drinking the beer at the bar. And I hear this old dude in the corner of the bar wailing away on a piano and singing a song called I Got My Mojo Working. And I just loved it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I hope I have that much energy when I'm, I don't know what age. And it was so awesome because his energy was infectious. When I got back home, by the way, I was listening to something that we had in the States at the time called Sirius Radio, which is satellite radio you get in your car. I don't know that we do that anymore, but one of the songs that came up on the blues channel that I was listening to, because I like blues music, was Pinetop Perkins, and I Got My Mojo Working. And I'm like, oh my God, I saw that guy. I didn't realize he was famous at all. So what an energetic bundle, right? Positive energy, making an impact on people years later. I'm telling that story about him because he made an impact on me. So how can you bring positive energy to your communication and to your relationships, right? And make a positive impact and make people remember you. Point number 2 today is avoiding role frustration. So learning how a leadership mindset is going to keep boredom from setting in. Where the heck are you going with that, Jen? I'll tell you. So we're all incredibly busy with the things that we need to get done in a day. We wear heaps of hats throughout the day. And sometimes when we get really, really busy and we don't step back and appreciate kind of what we have, stuff gets a bit meh, doesn't it? You get out of bed in the morning and it's like, ugh, back to the grind, right? Back into all the stuff that was still sitting on my desk at the end of the day that I didn't get done yesterday. So it gets to be a bit soul crushing at times, all the things that we have to accomplish in the course of a day in our roles. So we always seem to be kind of reacting to things, and that can be pretty exhausting. No matter what role you're in here today, from a small business owner to someone who is an EA or PA, event planner, office manager, doesn't matter. When the work begins to feel a bit meh, we start to tune out and lose our mojo. We no longer have the Pinetop Perkins mojo. I want you guys to remember that when you leave here, right? You got to have the Pinetop Perkins mojo. Let's look at 2 ways people with a leadership mindset approach their days to keep them stimulated so that meh doesn't take over. And the first thing is leaders, you guys are leaders, are prioritizers. They feel more in control of their days and their weeks, and it helps them retain their energy. And how do they prioritize? They use the Pareto principle. And you guys know this, right? This is the 80-20 rule. 20% of your clothes in the wardrobe get 80% of the wear. 20% of the stuff on that really long to-do list has the best bang, gives you the best bang for your buck. So the biggest problem I think we all struggle with is how do we identify the 20%? Because it all seems important, doesn't it? So I'm going to cover briefly an oldie but goodie tool from Stephen Covey. So if you want to scribble a note here somewhere, feel free, because I'm going to give little things to fill in some blanks. But this matrix is called the Achiever Matrix, or I call it the Achiever Matrix. Everything on your to-do list has an element of importance and an element of urgency. So this is one of those spaces where your brain might be saying, I've seen this before. Go, wait a minute, how well am I using this, right? So if we think about this divided up into 4 quadrants, those things that are highly urgent and highly important that sit up in that upper right corner, those are reactive type things, reactive activity. It means that you're working in your business or your role or your office instead of working on your role. Those things generally just need to be taken care of, right? Highly important, your skills, they take your skills to do, and they're highly urgent. They need to be done now. The stuff in the upper left corner, this is where we need to be spending more time if we can. This is proactive activity. This is things that are important, but they're not yelling at you. They're not super urgent. So those things need to be booked into your diary. Decide when you're going to take care of these things, right? So this is the decide when corner. Yeah, but Jen, I book stuff into my diary all the time. And when it comes around time for me to do it, something else always gets in the way. I know this, right? Shifting priorities. So this stuff down here, time waster, dump it, right? It's not important. It's not urgent. Surfing Facebook, I don't know, whatever it is. Oh, I need to go out and post a Facebook post for our company today. Great. Do it in 5 minutes and get off Facebook. Don't go search around everybody else you're following. So low value activity, dump it. This is where you can gain some leverage. And this is in this bottom right corner where things are urgent, but they're not terribly important. They don't have to be done by you. They don't take your skills, but they need to be done. These are the things that need to be delegated. And I don't mean always to another person, because you can delegate by outsourcing. You can save time by leveraging a system or a process so that a particular task doesn't take you as much time to do. This is where you can gain back time each week. Now, if we can claim back time, we're going to pop it up into that upper left corner, the decide when, and take care of the really important stuff, the working on. And I'm going to get to why that's important in just a little bit. So, leaders are reflectors. Not only are leaders prioritizers, they reflect. And a major way to keep your work from getting boring, or ho-hum is to challenge yourself to be better tomorrow than you were today. How can I be better tomorrow than I was today? That will constantly keep you engaged in thinking about how you can do what you do even better, even more effectively, even more efficiently, and with more fun, right? And can help you take your career or your business forward. So when leaders reflect at the end of each day or the end of each week, they ask themselves 3 key questions. The first one is, what went well today? And how did I contribute to that? That's the important piece of that, is that self-reflection. What did I contribute to the things that went well today? All right, did I have the right attitude? Was I focused on other people instead of myself? Did I take proactive action on something that I've been procrastinating on? And how specifically did I, as a leader of myself and others, maintain calm, certainty, and positive direction? And how did I be the example of that for other people? Question number 2, what didn't go so well? Only by getting really honest with ourselves can we identify patterns of behavior that might put us into non-delivery and into that space where, we drop the ball or things fall through the cracks. So at what point did your attitude slip and what triggered it, so that you can recognize it next time and try to avoid that, right? Do something different. Did you procrastinate on something, and why? Was it important in the first place to begin with, or was it one of those low value activities? What new process did you implement that didn't work well? Can it be salvaged, right? What didn't go well, and how did you contribute to that? And the third question is, what can I do differently tomorrow to get a better result? This is all about opportunity. Opportunity. And that's where reflecting gets powerful, because it really forces you to consider how to move forward into the future, not just get stuck into day to day to day. It's not competition with anybody else, it's competition with yourself. How can I be better tomorrow? I've got a resource that I'd be happy to give to you. All you need to do is ask for it. And one of our lovely folks who's helping me today is going to be popping up some sign-up sheets on the stage later. So say please, all you got to do is just put something down, I'll send it out to you. It's called the Daily Focus Sheet and the Weekly Focus Sheet. And it can really help you create a new habit to support that improvement, that daily improvement. So what we're going to do is move on to point number 3. And we're going to wrap this up with a quick talk around how working on versus working in is going to take you places. What do I mean by working on? What do you guys think? What is working on your business or working on your role within an organization? What does that look like? Yell some stuff out to me. I know you have thoughts out there. Speak them. What does working on look like? Absolutely. Stepping back to look at the bigger picture rather than getting bogged down in the day-to-day. Yeah, and it takes effort to do that, doesn't it? Make the time. What else does working on look like? Who's speaking? Raise your hand so I can see you. Anybody? Oh, it's back there. Do you have an idea about what working on looks like? Could it be creating a new system, right? Looking at a new system in your business is going to save you time, or in your role that's going to save you time. Could it be nurturing a relationship, right, within your organization or with a supplier or a center of influence that will help you take your business or your efforts forward? That's all working on, right? One of those ways that we can work on is by investing time in quality thinking, right? Thinking increases my value to my organization, my team, my business. But Jen, I think every day. I know you do think every day, but is it reflective thinking? Is it purposeful, intentional thinking? All right. Thinking increases your value by affording you the space, the mental space, the focus, to think ahead, to plan, to strategize, and to problem solve. Now, there are 10 specific types of thinking. I didn't even know there were that many until I learned that, right? 10 specific types of thinking that a leader can engage in, but we've got time to cover 2 of those today, which I'll talk about. And the 10 are big picture thinking, focused thinking, creative thinking, realistic thinking, possibility thinking, strategic thinking, reflective thinking, questioning, shared thinking, and bottom line. Now I'm going to focus on today big picture thinking with you and shared thinking, because I think those 2 are going to be the best bang for your buck, right? In the time that we've got. So when you set aside time to do some big picture thinking, you're setting aside time to step away from the day-to-day and focus in on specific ways that you can advance your career or your business. How can you contribute to the big picture within your organization or shape the big picture for your business? It allows you to create the future you want or the career path you want in a much more intentional way. So use your prioritizing skills, use that achiever matrix, 4 Ds, do it, dump it, delegate it, or decide when. Use those prioritizing skills to claw back a bit of time that you'll commit to setting aside to thinking. 15 to 20 minutes a week, right? Doesn't have to be heaps. You don't have to go away on a 2-day retreat where you think about your role or you think about your business. You can spend 15 to 20 minutes a week and gain value from this process. And it's the key to you becoming more valuable to your teammates, to your customers, and to your boss, everyone you lead or influence. Leaders are collaborators. They engage in shared thinking. So leaders set aside regular time for shared thinking. And by shared thinking, I mean recognizing that you don't know everything about everything, and that's okay, but you're going to access group wisdom, right? Tap into those people who have skills in areas that maybe you don't, that you need to gain their input, right? Who are those people? Teammates, colleagues, your boss, your friends, your professional contacts, your centers of influence, your clients, people in other businesses, people here with you today. I hope that you're going to spend some time over lunch and during your breaks. It's the best part of conferences, right? Is the breaks, because you get a little bit of stuff from people like us up here on the stage. But when you guys actually start talking about what it is you heard in some of those sessions, that's when some of the gold comes out, because you can talk about, oh, yeah, how that impacts me in my business, whatever the topic is. So use your time during lunch to tap into the group wisdom of the people around you. So nobody ever did anything great alone, did they? It's pretty hard to do great stuff on your own. You need people. So that's why we talked about connecting way at the very beginning. So reach out to those that have different skills to you, different levels of experience, different viewpoints, that diverse viewpoint. Bring them into your thinking time, and you'll be amazed at how much synergy you can create just by bringing a few key people together to sort out a solution to a problem, to create a new process, to identify opportunities. I was running a Zoom session the other day, and one of the attendees said, Jen, when I'm doing some strategic thinking, should I do that on my own or should I involve someone else? I said, well, it's great to start out on your own because you need to capture your own thoughts and what's floating around in your own head when you sit down for your thinking time. But by all means, bring someone else that you trust into that picture to help you talk things out. My husband, the guy you saw on the slide a ways back, he's a clinical psychologist and runs a center down in the mighty Tron. And he's really good for tapping into the wisdom of the people around him, right? So even though he's one of those people that likes to think he's always right? One of those personality styles. I'm kind of that way too, but he'll tap into asking me my opinion about certain things. It's really helpful, and we try to do that for each other. So if you've got somebody in your life that you trust, a spouse, a friend, a work colleague, who you want to pull into that thinking time, I would encourage you to do it, because that means you're smart to get people's input who think about things differently than you do. Because sometimes we kind of get stuck in our own brain, kind of like my husband does. And sometimes someone else can pop in from the outside and say, oh, this is a great idea right here. And he's like, I never would have thought of that. So bringing those extra people in are key. Now, I'm not talking about doing so much thinking that you become like Bill Gates. There's a Netflix series on right now, which I just finished. I think it's 3 or 4 sessions, and it's called Inside Bill's Brain. If you haven't watched it and you find people like him kind of interesting, I would highly suggest it. It's pretty cool. But he's amazing. He's got like 16 books on the go at any one time, and they're not fluffy books. They're like meaty books on big topics. So I'm not suggesting that we need to become Bill Gates and tote around 16 books that we're reading and learning about new things all the time. That's not what I'm talking about. All I'm talking about is setting aside a little bit of time every week to think about where you're heading. Where am I going? How can I add value to the people around me so that I increase my value to my organization, to my customers, and my prospects, right? And take myself and my business and my team forward. So, do you guys have questions for me? I've got a couple more things to share with you, but I want to just break and see if anybody's got any kind of a question around anything that you've just heard. Anybody at all? I'm happy to answer questions. I know I can't hear you who are zooming in, but that's all right. Any questions? Perfect. I'm going to move forward. I know it's hard to speak in here because it's a little noisy. Remember at the beginning, I promised you two things. The one thing was something that you can take forward. If you implement, I can't do it for you, in your business or in your team or your organization, that will help you go forward. How many of you have gleaned one little nugget today that you've taken a note about that's going to help you move forward? Yes? Good. Brilliant. So that's done. Tick. The second thing I promised you is a free resource. So the daily focus and weekly focus sheets. Liam, do we have these? Thank you. So here's what I would like you to do right now before you head through to lunch. And I know I'm the last thing standing between you and lunch, but sorry, we did end a little bit early, so you've got some time to do this. There's a few sheets up here. Just pop your name, please write legibly, and an email, and I will send out to you the weekly focus sheet and the daily focus sheet. And there's things on there like, I set my 3 priorities for today. What are my 3 priorities for today? Tick. I reviewed my CRM. I reviewed my financials. I contacted someone new today. I talked to an existing client today, and I accomplished the 3 things I set out to this morning. All right, so it's just a good way to set your intention for the day and to finish up on a really strong note. The weekly one is similar, which is some bigger picture activities. So if you use that, I promise it'll help you be more focused and more effective. Yep. So I'm behind myself. Sorry. There you go. Grab the sign-up sheet before you go to lunch. I'll send those to you within the next 24 hours. So by this time tomorrow, you can start using them. And I love this quote, because no matter where you're at, what you want to do, start now, pick something, implement it with the resources that you have, right? And go forward, do what you can. And that's us for today. If you've got any questions whatsoever, shoot me an email.